Welcome to today's live stream. My theme this month is hands, and we're going to be drawing a whole bunch of hands. And some of you have been drawing along with the daily references on my Discord server. You'll recognize many of these hands. And if you're coming over to Zoom, it'd be great if you could mute YouTube because I have Zoom open. You can come draw with me there too. And it's fun to be back here. I haven't done one of these multi-sketch streams for a while because the past 5 weeks I've been focused on my facial features course, which is now the live part of that has come to a close for now. And I'm happy to be back here live streaming. So let me know in the chat who's here, say hello, and we're going to practice doing a lot of hands together. Drawing hands is notoriously tricky and they're very expressive, and it's been really interesting for me focusing on hands this month, thinking about just hands a lot and what we do with hands and what we can convey with hands. And in addition to portraiture, once you have hands in an image, it almost becomes like another character, and there's a lot that we can express and they can contribute to the story of any portrait. You can put your favorite hand emojis in the chat if you like. Yeah, our hands are just great and sometimes pretty tricky to draw. So we're going to practice by doing a whole bunch of hands today. And it's really nice to have you all here. Let's start with Ulf's hand. So I've already seen lots of great renditions of this one, and I love this one because it's so bold with the light and shadow. It's going to be really, really good to draw this one. And I'm not sure if everything's going to be, I often do these 10-minute portraits, but I'm not sure I'm going to keep time limits so tightly with this. I will, for now, set a 5-minute time limit just to start, because something I'm going to be focusing on towards the end of the year, from now and maybe forever, is simplification in our drawing, where something feels like it's kind of maybe overwhelming and looks really complicated. How do we endeavor to simplify it? And in Advent, starting the 30th of November, I'm going to do a series of workshops focusing on simplification. So when things look really tricky, trying to just do less or figuring out a way to take all of that complex stuff and just kind of draw less. I think that's a really good exercise. So that's what I'm going to start with. And I feel like a 5-minute timer, even less, could be really good. Because it's really a great way to practice. When you don't have a lot of time, there's not a lot you can get done. And then if you try and reduce it to something clear, which I feel like this reference is perfect for, that can be really helpful. So let's get into it with Ulf's hand. And if you're here, if your hands have been shared in the chat, anyone can share references as well on the Discord server. Say hello, and thank you so much for lending us your hand. And yeah, if you want to head on over to my Zoom room, there should be a link in the description, and maybe you know the way because you've been there before. You can do that and we can hang out. And once we settle into things, we can even chat a bit. Hi, Uta, Lisa, Alyssa, Astrid, Kiki, Nick, Rosie, Carol, Rachel, Linda, Sketcher, Ingrid, everyone who's here. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Let's get into it. Let's start sketching. Right. How's everyone in Zoom? Everyone comfortable? Everyone ready? This is the Pilot Parallel pen, which is really good for big, bold lines. And I thought this would be a nice way to start. I've got some pencils on hand as well. And this core shadow going through this is such a cool, strong shape. So rather than even thinking about all of the tricky hand anatomy and stuff, it's just like, wow, look at that big dark shape through the middle of this. Let's just try and draw that. Hey, Lewis, welcome. Lewis has already drawn this hand a lot of times, and it was so amazing to see. anyone who's new here, I have a Discord server where I've been sharing daily reference, and Lewis has done a really incredible uh, multiple drawing rendition from this reference already, which is really cool to see. So yeah, that's a super fun part about doing all of this, is like seeing what you do, how everyone's different takes on the same reference. And the past month, I've found it pretty hard to keep up with the daily reference. I've been focused on the course a lot and some other things. But I love seeing that everyone else, those of you who have been using those references, it's so good to see. And I'm happy now to be able to catch up a bit with some of these hands. And I have some new hands here as well. And something Lewis said about this hand, which I thought was great, was the association of hitchhiking. I've had many wondrous experiences in the cars of strangers. That's how I got around a lot of Europe back in the day not when I was first over here. It took a while before I discovered it as a possible way of getting around, and it opened up the world to me. So when you said that about this thumb and hitchhiking, Lewis, I just thought that was so cool. Yeah, and the idea of these live streams and these drawing sessions, just the opportunity to practice drawing together. It's just everyone does their thing. So you don't have to keep up with me. You don't have to do it the way I do. We're just here drawing together, and it's just great to practice and create together. So thank you for being here. This is interesting. I have a minute and 50 seconds left of my 5 minutes, and I'm kind of like, oh, what do I do now? I feel like it's often for me, and once you get into the rhythm and the practice of it, it's really helpful to start with a time limit, because when I think, oh, I don't have much time, I just need to start drawing, and then I'll just kind of don't deliberate too much about what I'm doing. Just start putting the lines down, start drawing. I'm always trying to kind of see how things are in relation to each other. But when I know I don't have much time, I just kind of dive into it. And you may choose to try and do the same thing, or you may just focus on one part of the drawing, however you feel like drawing along. It's totally up to you. And also with the daily reference, everyone is doing their own thing, and it's really amazing to see. It's an opportunity just to work along with some cool reference, and also to be inspired by what other people are doing, and whatever level you're at. If you've only just started drawing this week, you can also draw along with us. Anyone is welcome to join. 20 seconds left. So I knew this hand is just such a clear, big shadow shape. I knew this is maybe the easiest of all the hands that I have for us to draw, I think. It's just such a like bold graphic image. All right, that was 5 minutes. Linda, haha, so true. Oh, this is the thing I can do now. Show on stream. Oh wow, I can bring your message up real big. When living in England, we hitchhiked all around. Good memories. Now I watch Darling and think how lucky I was. Yes. Oh, you watch Dateline. Perhaps it's best not to watch. I liked Darling. All right. Hey, Kola Ollie. Nice to have you here again. Hi, Maya. Whoops. Just bumped things a bit there. Okay. What have I got next? All right. Hopefully I've got things in the same order over here as I have the reference. I'm working with the reference right alongside, so you can see here, I've got the iPad right next to me, having that one-to-one from here to there, that's helpful, but it's also good to be able to look at something from a distance and try and figure it out. This is a really cool photo. This is Sandra's, right? You're here. This was your photo. Sorry if I mix up who's whose. I didn't have time to put everyone's account names on the image, but if you know, put your account in the chat and people can tag you. Dizzy, you just rest, enjoy. I'm going to do something a bit different this time. I'm going to make this one 10 minutes, and I'm going to use my water brush together with the parallel pen. And make sure I can see this. Okay. All right, I'll do it. Yes, it's your reference. So cool. It's been amazing. I was just like, who's got cool reference photos of hands? And people have been sharing them on the Discord server, and I'm very appreciative. I've also been collecting hands on Instagram and looking for other cool references. But it's so wonderful just to be able to put it out to you and say, who's got cool photos? And then you share them. And this is really amazing. Such a cool gesture, cool pose, distorted perspective, very interesting shapes. So, all right, I'm going to do 5 minutes. And then after that 5 minutes, I'm going to try and get everything in the right place in the first 5 minutes. And then I'm going to give myself another 5 minutes to kind of expand upon that. So the idea of simplification, which I'm going to be focusing on a lot, that's going to be I said overarching, but also underlying theme of my December workshops will be simplification. And it's something throughout the live sessions of my course that came up a lot. And it's an interesting idea of overdrawing, or choosing what to leave out. Overdrawing, underdrawing, leaning towards underdrawing, trying to keep it pretty minimal, and just figuring out what's important and what do you want to draw, and how can you develop a clear, simplified way of expressing things. And then on top of that, like just as a foundation for then doing, whatever kind of detailed, complex, adventurous things you want to do. But just coming from that place of simplification it was really interesting. I was wondering, how am I going to make this year's Advent workshops different to last year's? Because I think thematically, the light into the darkness and the return of the light, I enjoyed it so much, and I think it's going to be so cool to be working with that again. I was like, how can it be different this year? So for return attendees and for anyone and for myself, how does it remain kind of fresh and interesting and inspiring? We'll have different references, of course. But I was thinking, and Kira, who often has a lot of wonderful suggestions, she was like, what's a big kind of insight you've had this year that would be cool to incorporate, like make it about that? And this idea of simplification came up because it's just been kind of present recently. And then I was looking through my Patreon roadmap for the year. So each month I have had specific themes that I've been working with, whether it's compositional, continuous line, pure line, shadow shapes, through the daily drawing practice and my live streams and my Patreon tutorials. I've had a theme every month. And then I was looking at it, and then on Patreon, like, oh, what's this month and what's next month? It's hands, and then next month is simplification. I was like, that fits perfectly. I had already in January mapped out what December was going to be about, and it ties in perfectly to the workshops, and has just been very, very present recently. So if sounds interesting to you, please join my workshops in December, where we'll be focusing on simplification in drawings and also doing some complex stuff on top of it. But I think it's going to be really fun. I loved it last year. It was a nice way to spend some Sunday evenings with you, drawing together. And if you were there, if you joined last December and you're here in the chat or watching the replay, let me know. And if you want to join, you can also say hi, raise your hand in the chat, because I really enjoy hanging out and drawing together with people. All right, of this first stage, we have 40 seconds left. I've been giving some thought to what would be cool to explore with hand drawing. And this photo got me thinking, oh yeah, hands with instruments, like in what, we've had great suggestions in the Discord server. Like Adam said, the sign language alphabet would be incredible to draw, something I'd love to do. Okay, that was the first 5 minutes. I'm going to put another 5-minute timer on now. But yeah, instruments, like hands doing interesting things, which they often do. And it just got me thinking about hands holding instruments. I have a really great reference for perhaps the last one we'll do today from Ballaké Sissoko, who's a Kora player. And I've just been seeing all these hands holding instruments and how they're so expressive. And then with instruments, hands holding instruments, they're like a further gateway to emotional expression through music, and how the articulation of the hands can lead to so many things. And it's just been really, really interesting to think about hands, how we use our hands. I'm going to take some of this ink and put it into the shadow. How's everyone in Zoom? Kiki is struggling. Thank you for relaying that question to me. Is that in the Zoom chat? Yeah. Thank you for that question. The workshops will be at 8:30, which is in 8 minutes, Sundays, starting from the 30th of November, which is the first Advent, the first of the 4 Sundays leading to the solstice. They will be live, but recordings will also be made available. And I'm aware that time there are people who won't be able to join. But if you're interested in watching the replays and you would like to ask questions beforehand, you can also do that to make sure things are addressed. I'm thinking that each workshop will be about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And something I'm going to be doing again is I'm going to do daily live streams throughout the month, but they are going to be, this time, they are going to be in my morning time. So perhaps those of you who aren't able to be there live for the workshops will be able to join the daily stream practice. And and I'll be sharing much more about that as in the coming weeks as we get closer to December. Yeah, and I have for the 4 Sundays, 4 themes. It's line, shadow, darkness, and light. And they're all like key fundamental components of understanding images and the way we make things. And so each one will thematically be different, but they will all kind of interact with each other in a way of developing and furthering a kind of comprehensive understanding of the way we put our drawings together. And probably, again, like a combination of ink and pencil. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, whether you're here in the live chat, in the Zoom, or watching the replay, feel free to ask. And yeah. Lewis says the Advent drawing reference calendar was amazing. It was a great time to draw together last year. It was so cool. It wasn't the first time I had done a daily live stream practice, but I just thought the theme, working from light to ever darker images throughout the month, it made it so interesting. And it was a great opportunity to connect with so many of you and be drawing together, as well as the muses whose images we worked from. Like Alfie, who I stayed with in London, I drew for the first time in that live stream series last December, and a bunch of other people too. All right, that was our second 5-minute block. Martina, hello. Oh, cool. This is so cool. Thank you, Sketcher S24. Sandra, you could put your own Instagram account in the chat, and then people can tag you with this hand drawing. And Ulf is Wolverine. At some point, I will, or maybe I can do it as well. I will take a moment in the replay of this live stream. I'll put everyone's Instagram tags, so you'll be able to find out who everyone is. Yeah, Wolverine _ was our first one. Haha. Oh, what? I commented. That's weird. It commented twice for me. Drawn Together and Dylan both commented. Okay. And Sandra, you can let us know yours as well. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. So this is one, I had a Drawn Together episode this week, and I didn't get around to drawing this yet. But this is an amazing image by Dina Velikovskaya, who is an animator. So cool. This week with Charlotte Hamilton, we worked on this, and I did a gouache thing, which I'm not too sure about, but I thought I'd really like to try this with with a pencil or ink as well, because I love the hand gesture, and I love this little person. These are the gouache sketches I did, and I went a bit further with this, but I don't know if it got any better or if I should have left it. All right, I'm going to, what am I going to do? I might just keep using the same pen. Have a little drink. I'll make these, I didn't have time beforehand, but I'll get the references up in the description on YouTube when I'm done with this as well. I just saw your comment, Sherry. Ha 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 ha. So yeah, this is a good question. Um, Am I going to address the strategy for using water-soluble ink in the workshops without it becoming a massive ink blob? Yeah, I can try and talk about it now too. And Kiki as well, how to control the ink and water combination. Sherry blots it when it becomes a wild mess, but mine isn't a mess when I do it. Yeah, I'll try and address that now. Um, and I will definitely be getting into that more and more. And I'm looking at the moment. The next thing I have on the horizon after the workshops, and actually while I'm working on the workshops as well, is I want to put together an ink course, and where I'll really be able to break everything down in a focused way. I'm going to do 5 in 5 minutes again. That felt good last time. This is like extra complex because it's not just a hand. There's like a whole person in here as well. So just go for the negative spaces between the fingers are really nice. The whole kind of outline before getting carried away with how complex things are. In Zoom, you can feel free to speak up and talk to me because I might not see your questions in the chat. If you notice me take a break to breathe and you have the wherewithal to speak up and ask, then please do. And yeah, I'm going to do it with ink, the same combination I just used. I'll use the parallel pen, and I have Pelikan Brilliant Black ink in it, which is water soluble, and it's on Nostalgie paper, which is similar to Bristol board, I think, which is quite a smooth paper, and you can. I find this combination works really well. The thing of how you move the ink around on the paper, depending on the paper, it makes a huge difference because some it would just like soak in and then it's just there. Whereas with this, with a bit of water, you can kind of move it and it holds the water well, which not all papers do. So yeah, it's like the perfect combination of pen, ink, and paper, and then the right amount of water and the right amount of ink. But I'll start again with the loose line, like I did with the last one. Drawing with the corner of the pen to get like a light line. There's not too much ink that can bleed out, as opposed to this kind of thing where there's a lot of ink on there and that can really become a mess. So I'm going to start the same way here because there's not a lot of really super dark values. Yeah. Hello, SKT.X, Tobago, amazing. So nice to have you here. Linda also says, I love the Advent references and drawing daily from last year too. Didn't get too many done, but still have most of the references. Yeah, and it was fun being here regularly. I'm glad you enjoyed it. How is Tobago right now? Okay, 5 minutes plus 5 minutes. So I'm not starting with the hand, but I'm just gonna work my way around. And my eyes are like constantly flicking back and forward between the drawing and the reference, trying to get a somewhat faithful representation of what I'm seeing over there. And by the way, I have regular practice at doing this quick sketching stuff. If it's not flowing like that for you, it's okay. Whatever you do, it's just great to be doing it. Great to kind of practice. Oh, that leg's a bit thin. That's okay. So with ink, when you realize that things aren't quite right, just keep going. It'll be all right. You can't change it too much. The hand is kind of interesting, tricky. And here we've got like, that's the main dark shape. Is it looking up this sleeve here? Yeah, so Dina, whose wonderful little puppet paper doll this is, I've had the delight of being in contact with this week. Um, I'll make sure to put Dina's Instagram account in the chat here as well, because everyone should go check out her amazing work. Like, these are wonderful little puppets. They're so cool. And gain some insight. Her recent posts have been about storyboarding for an animation project, which I think is super exciting to see. I love the kind of behind the scenes element of amazing things. It's really fun to see the process, what goes into making something. All right, so that was, we've got just over 2.5 minutes left for the outline of the hand. Well, you are wherever you are at in this drawing. You don't have to be keeping up with me. Maybe you're just focusing on the portrait of this little person. You can be doing whatever you want. I have my idea of like what I'm working towards and what I want to do, but you just do what works for you. I could already start moving into the getting the values down and stuff, I think. So here, because I've used such fine lines, there's not a lot of ink to be moved around. So there's minimal risk of it becoming a big blobby mess. And what's happening here is just that by touching the water brush to the pen marks, the ink, it's like activating the water-soluble ink, and I'm able to push it around on the paper. The big blobby mess comes, or is that there's a higher risk of making a big blobby mess when you've put down really bold pen marks, and then you touch it with water, and then it can kind of flood out into that watery space, and that can be very disheartening. So one way to avoid that happening is to go in lightly first, and then where you see you want really darker, bolder marks, that you can layer that up after. So it can just be a question of like sequencing, and once you've had that experience and been like, oh, the drawing looks really good, and then I try and put a brush to it and everything just melts and turns into a mess, then the sequence could be important. You can vary that. Or there's definitely an element of just having the experience, having tried a bunch of times. That was 5 minutes. We'll do another 5. And so now, as I'm doing all of this stuff, this is also having time to dry, and I'm just putting down a kind of like a different layer, a different level of value. And so now, as that kind of dries, if I now drew into something really wet, it would bleed as well. So I want to avoid that. But now with the additional time I have, I can kind of choose what to, what I want to make bolder. I can, on top of that really simple kind of initial phase, I can make some decisions about where I would like it to be bolder and more expressive, get some more variation in the lines, and then when I come back to it, either it stays like that, or as I come back, I can also keep in mind like how inky things are if I'm going to touch water to it. And it'll happen that some things will just like, the ink will spread in unforeseen ways. And yeah, if you're quick enough to be able to like soak it up with some paper towel or something, you may be able to save part of the drawing. Very sunny and warm in Tobago. That sounds good. It's getting kind of cold and windy in central Germany. Oh, and by the way, the Advent workshops I was talking about, the link to my website, I think and hope, is in the description of this video. And if you're interested in joining, you can head there and either join the whole 4 workshop series or just choose the ones you want. But if you get all 4, it's kind of like 4 for the price of 3. Yeah, that's interesting because I was just thinking about it as well. So the choice here to hatch here, nothing is really dark apart from this in this reference. And I feel like if I like it all feels kind of restrained in the way that I'm working. But this is also a thing that by hatching it here, there's also less ink to kind of bleed out everywhere. Because if you either you're making a choice to be really inky, and which I think with Ulf's hand in the first, there we go, there's a bit more ink. Ulf's hand was really had this wonderful dark shadow shape, and it's like, yeah, I can just like super confidently just replicate those super dark values. And here I'm kind of like, it's not that dark, so I want to be kind of more restrained with it here. But noticing that it is dark in here, I decided rather than going heavy with that I just try out the hatching. And basically like adapting to whatever feels like might work. And it could be different each time. But that's what I was just thinking with this one. You're welcome. And I think within all of these paper marks, like this could be really interesting because that was 10 minutes, by the way, but there are all these different plane changes and wrinkles and stuff. And there it could be really fun to do a lot of different, like imagining following the plane of the paper, like all the folds, and put different hatching marks in different places. I feel like that could be really fun for this, because it is composed of like such a there's all these hard kind of surfaces interacting with each other, and the kind of textured papery quality as opposed to a smoother skin. Like it could be really interesting to really get into a lot of different hatching and stuff throughout this. But that's it for now. I feel like I could actually, like the puppet there's a lot more of that paper value. I don't want it as white as the paper, so just kind of quickly going over here to change the paper from the white of the paper. This is something, this drawing I think I could spend a lot more time on, but I'm gonna move on for now. I notice squished in the hand. Not It's not as solid and meaty, but or bony. Like the structure is not in there, but that's okay. It kind of works. Um, oh, Brigitte, are you here? Um, this is very cool. Really nice photo. Oh, and I'll just make sure to put Dina's Instagram in the chat, who created that incredible paper doll. Oh, wait a minute. What's this, Martina? My co-worker days, you're too good. What does that mean, my co-worker days? Says, but like you said, it takes practice. Yeah, getting the marks and just putting things down. It's a cumulative process. Just keep at it, keep practicing. The more you draw, the more you see, the more you draw. Dina Velikovskaya, maybe. I'd see in terms of that. I'll keep the ink theme going with this as well, and like, oh, this is such a nice photo. Your co-worker says you're there. You're working at the moment, Martina. Thank you for joining me from work, and hello to your co-worker. All right, I feel good with this 5 minute thing. It's like I give myself half the time to just get things in place, and then I've got extra time to play around on top of it. Oh, doesn't know where to focus. There we go. So when I do really quick hands, like when the hand is just one part of a bigger sketch, like often Tuesdays, you can come draw with me on Zoom every Tuesday. We do really quick poses and there'll be hands in there. And often, because it's a really short time frame, I would just kind of grab the outline of the hands. And it can be interesting to look that way to see like what fingers are kind of grouped and bunched together. That's really good practice for working on these decisions which simplify very complex things. And I feel like those really quick sketches, they really feed into like starting something which is going to be a much longer kind of dedicated piece. Whether it's a painting or drawing, just having practiced a lot of really quick drawing, it will, like if I'm just looking at how the big kind of light and shadow shapes are interacting, how the fingers are kind of bunched together, that kind of thing is like really helpful to be able to just briefly capture something which expresses some hand-like quality, even though it's like hardly anything is drawn. And sometimes it can be interesting just to think of it. The hands really add some, yeah, this extra expressive element. Like if you focus a lot on portraiture or even any like a full figure kind of composition, the hands, they can be almost as important and as expressive as the portrait. And that can be true even if they're not entirely like drawn, sometimes implied, but in some kind of expressive way, which I think is can be really fascinating. Like there are some amazing hand paintings where, oh, I can't remember the artist's name, but there was a piece I saw in London this year where there was this like hand shape, and it was just, I don't know, it was something kind of like this, and there was a few brush strokes, and there was hardly any detail in it, but it was just like, wow, such a expressive, emotive hand. And it's interesting sometimes how if we can move towards making something more simple, that sometimes it can be enough, especially in an overall composition where there's a lot of things going on, that sometimes just that gesture can be enough. All right, I feel like I've kind of got everything in place, and that's about 4 minutes, and I'm going to start adding some bolder lines, and there'll be more to kind of work around and play with once I touch water to it. I understand probably a lot of you are not using ink, and it'd be interesting to know what you're sketching with. And I look forward to seeing your results as well. What's everyone in Zoom working with? Oh, yeah, cool. Ah, but you're doing it. That's good. Sometimes I'll try something with a particular medium and be like, oh, I know I can draw, but this is like not working out for me. And um, like the gouache thing I did earlier this week for Drawn Together, I'm kind of like, nah, there's room for improvement, and that's okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just kind of like dived into it. All right. So the 5 minutes is up. Next 5 minutes. Okay, so here now I have some bolder lines, which I'll know that I'll be able to like borrow a bit more ink from as I fill in like the shadow side. And here, just at this stage, I feel like it's really interesting. Like it went from this really like a uniform line quality, and just adding a bit of line variation makes it kind of come alive in a different way. And you can be making these decisions in that initial phase as well. Like you don't always have to start with a pure line and then like change it, but it can be an interesting way to approach it and just kind of build up the value and variation. I'm going to be doing a hand tutorial for my Patreon, and any of you who are here, whether you're on my Patreon or not, what is something that you would like? Like it's a very different kind of format than this, but this is great because it's just learning by doing. But I have made a hand tutorial in the past. You watched it, right, Kiki, this week? Yeah, cool. Um, nice. Is there, so that would be interesting to know from you, since it's so fresh for you. In addition to that, like, is there other things that you feel like would be interesting to explore? Because it will be a different, a whole different experience than that one was. Yeah, yeah, this is really a beautiful reference image. Yeah, I'm glad you've been enjoying the references. It's so fun to curate references where I'm like, I sometimes just be searching, looking for images, whatever the theme is, and be like, oh, that's cool. And then to see other people picking it up and like making something amazing with it. It's very fun. Even when I haven't been getting around to it, it's like, oh yeah, I just it's not nice to, and even when I do it as well, to see other people's take on it is something which is always super special and interesting. Just to see how people go about working from the same image and what's similar in the results, what's really vastly different, but all from that same seed of an interesting reference. It's really cool, the ring, how it's got this wonderful like black stone. There's this little highlight at the edge against that dark background. It's really nice. There's so much that's great about it. It's such a treat to have such beautiful images to work from. Just to kind of get absorbed in the process of noticing things and then trying to figure out how to represent that. Oh, Sheila says aged and baby hands would be interesting for the tutorial. Yeah. All right. Oh, that was fun. Like, it's just such an incredible image, um, and interesting. Like to try and figure out without doing everything of the background values and stuff, but to use to figure out some of the places where like this shape, just to give it form, anchoring the hands. Because at some point I'm like, I feel like I've done enough in the hands. I can still see there's a lot more subtlety and details, but rather than taking the step of getting into those details, which then could become a prolonged process of trying to figure out how does everything kind of meet up to that. Like right now I'm thinking in here, I'm seeing all this stuff in the hand, which would be so nice to work on. But it's like, okay, with the time available, I can kind of anchor it and work with the different value relationship. And it's interesting just to kind of make a block out of that. That was super fun. Nice piece. How's everyone doing? Thank you, Sheila. Um, I wonder if you feel like they don't look like hands, but I wonder, like trying to figure out like the external shape, and sometimes a hand can be very like look very much like a potato or something. But there are little indications, little like changes in direction, something that you can kind of like see the things that you can just kind of try and grab a shape. Because yeah, sometimes it's really can be tricky, but if like the outside shape of what you're drawing, something about that is working, then oh, I wonder if I have some hand sketches from Tuesday just to show something like super simplified. But I've tidied up. Normally I have like a stack of recent drawings on my desk. Ah, here we go. This is perfect. This hand has almost no hand, but it's so clearly a hand. So this was maybe a 4-minute drawing, like, and so this is pretty quick. And this one, Klaus's hand here, like it's clear within the context of everything else that it's a hand, but there's not much to it. So it's a really interesting kind of dance between seeing all of the detail, the knuckles, the wrinkles, the veins, seeing all that stuff, but trying to figure out what is it that I need to, like, what's the minimum I can draw for this to be clear that it's a hand? And sometimes it's really not much. So that's a really interesting thing to try and figure out. Oh, this one, this is you, Kiki. It's I like this one so much. It's like super stylized. But here the hands, like, because there was light on here, light on the forehead, light on the top of back of the hand. So it's like not even closing it here, but the kind of that shadow below there. And yeah, also, so this is like really quick. Or Klaus's hand here. There's hardly anything to it because it's not the most important thing, but it definitely adds something to the overall sketch. So that's really interesting to be kind of working with that. The idea of how can you kind of capture the outline, the shape, because it doesn't have to be finished for it to work, to look like a hand. It's really, it's kind of an interesting exercise. Cool. Next one, Hittesh Patel, who's I shared this image yesterday. So incredible hand dancer, mind-blowing the way Hittesh uses his hands, and you just have to have a look on Instagram if you have no idea, never heard of a hand dancer. It's worth having a look because it's really kind of amazing. And the last reference we had was from Brigitte Rose. I'm just putting it in the chat. Anyone have any questions over on YouTube, in Zoom, about anything? Doesn't have to be about hands. Could be about hands. Or any insights on drawing hands, or do you have any inspiration for where we could source really cool hand reference? So yeah, so yesterday I was looking at Hittesh's videos to find some interesting hands, and that got me thinking about Butoh dance. And the first time I ever saw a Butoh dance was in Paris. And I no longer have the photos. I like lost all of my early travel photos because the CDs that I made, they just kind of evaporated, that had the images on them. But I remember watching this dancer, and the hands was such an expressive part of the dance. It was so cool. So I have some Butoh hands as well after this one. And this is of all of the hand reference I grabbed from Hittesh's incredible hand dancing. This is one of the more simple references. Hey, Wolverine has arrived. Hello, look at this. So the owner of this hitchhiking hand is in the chat. Thank you for joining us, Ulf. Thank you for your hand. So cool to have you here. All right, I'll do the 5 minute thing again, and I'm just going to keep working with ink. I thought I would do some pencil too, but I'm not going to. For those of you who were in last year's Advent workshops, I sent out emails today asking for your input if there's anything you would like to experience or you're curious about. Because I was talking with Kira about it. It's like, how do I make it a different and kind of relevant thing? And it's like every time it's a new portrait, it's a new thing. But yeah, I'm just wondering. Apart from that idea of simplification, because I feel like that's a cool kind of way to focus, how to simplify things. If you have any additional kind of input or ideas, then let me know. I enjoy the interaction. Oof! I'm looking forward to them too. Looking forward to the daily portrait streams in December. Yes, yes, yes. Me too. So this will be something interesting to talk about, ask about. Things have changed since last year, and it started as like a 1 month thing, but it basically meant every night I was not there to put my kids to bed, and now they don't go to bed, and it's intense and it's a big ask, and I don't want Kira to have to be working on the kids every night by herself. So I've thought about doing 10 a.m. daily streams, which for a lot of you who are awake now, you may not be at that time. So that'd be 4 a.m. in New York. So I expect there'd be a different audience. But if you're asleep, I would still encourage you to watch the replays to join and continue participate in the daily practice. That would be really cool, because I'd still love to have you there and to see your work. Of course, you could just grab the reference from Discord, but that'd be really good for my YouTube channel. If you watch the videos, you can also just let them play. But yeah, the daily streams last year, it was so cool, and it really was to have that creative focus in the time of darkness, and it's literally, in terms of light, it's quite a dark time of the year. But I remember last year as well thinking like, oh, like it's just been years and years of so much kind of heavy, intense stuff going on. And yeah, that idea of focusing on something creative and exploring light in the darkness together, I really enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, I'm curious, just with that time slot, if it was 10 a.m. Central European time, who would be able to be here? Mm, 9 a.m. in Britain. Like it's not set in stone yet, but it's like my work time. Like it's also kind of the start of the day for me. And these streams, I love being able to do streams which are accessible to many people. And I know there's always, just in terms of time zones, there are people that can be included or not. Um, but I know for many of you who have been at these sessions that this time works. All right, that was 5 minutes. Um, and I wonder, I'm not going to work on the portrait here, but I'm wondering how can I. It's a really interesting shape, and I just now was thinking how can I kind of accentuate these hands more, and thinking back to the last drawing, like having just those blocks of darkness around the hands, which really anchored them. That could be interesting to do here too, and maybe really just like a block. At times, uh, the the rhythms of family life with the kids as they're growing up changing a lot. Used to be wonderful to be like, oh, 8:30, 9 o'clock, everyone's definitely asleep, and then it's just like some time to do whatever we want. Um, that's no longer the case. Ah, well, this is interesting. I'd like some feedback. Who else resonates with this? Their random stream times were nice as well. A surprise bag, yeah, a bunta tutor. I also like that. I know some people like, I don't know when you're going to be streaming, um, and I was also like, when am I going to be able to stream today? So that I was doing, I was doing 9 p.m. my time every day for months and months. And so initially it started as 1 month, and then it turned in, it didn't stop, and it was great. Um, but then for Kira's sake, and also for mine, and to be able to, be part of that process, putting the kids to bed, be involved there. Um, then that became a thing where it's like, okay, I've got to alternate. So sometimes it's morning, sometimes it's evening, and I was thinking that for this December as well, because sometimes it just works out. Sometimes it would be fine to just hop on here and stream. Also, when I was keeping it to 10 minutes, it was much easier. But as we expanded throughout the year, and then like the watercolor month, and then it would be like an hour stream, and um, I guess that's when things kind of got a bit unbalanced, let's say. All right, this is pretty interesting right now. It's just the contrast of the dark block of ink and the really delicately, like those thin lines in the hands. Like I was thinking about going in with water, and but there's something kind of nice about this, how it is. Just with that clear, being able to differentiate between those super thin clear lines and the bold dark shape. So perhaps rather than introducing some variation, like value tonal variation with the water, I might just see how, with less than a minute left, how can I just accentuate things here. Because normally, like when I first looked and thought about that, it was like a minute and a half. I could have just go like put water down here, just put little bits around the knuckles, bottom edge of the fingers, and it could have worked out. But there's something about like the kind of delicate lines, which feels really nice in contrast to that background, which I feel like if I then went and put water over it, it would become a really different thing. All right. Ah, very Egon Schiele way. Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Cool hands. I wish I could show you some of the videos of what he's doing with his hands, because it's really amazing. Okay. So this one, how's everyone doing? So this, I think this is amazing reference from Norihito Ishii, because I looked up Butoh hands, and this whole video is it's just like dancing hands, but very different to the last hand dancing that we were looking at. And it just seems like this spontaneous, expressive way of using their hands, whereas Hittesh Patel's hand dancing is like very technical kind of movements, and these ones are very emotional and expressive. And this video was really amazing. I'll share it to my stories on Instagram because it was just like really beautiful video. So I thought this would be interesting to work from. Video time, yeah. Such a cool video. So this is interesting because we don't have to make the choice about the background being dark. It just is so dark in this one. You can make a choice about how dark to make the hands. The contrast is not as bright as in Ulf's hitchhiking hand, but there is this really clear shadow side, like looking on the inside of the two hands and the thumb, the back side of one hand, like there's quite a lot of shadow there. So that could be drawn with like an emphasis on those dark shapes. I'm not going to. I thought that's what you thought. That's what I thought too. Yay, video. But I'm not going to play the clip. I didn't download it. But I'll share it to my stories, so you can all check it out. Okay. We'll do 5 minutes. 5 minutes again. When I play, there might be another way to do it. But sometimes in my streams I have played a video, which I have enjoyed. To do that, I have to download the video first. All right, this is another, like I was talking about earlier, like capturing the kind of external form. Oh, this is great. Like the 3 fingers here, which are just one block, one shape. Like you can just draw them all together. Because if you're just looking at if you're just simplifying it in terms of value, you can see the distinct lines between each finger, but it's a lot more subtle than the difference between the light and the dark. People familiar with Butoh dance, it's like incredibly emotional and expressive, and like the whole body as like an expressive tool, a medium. It's yeah, the first time I saw, I had no kind of frame of reference, no context for what it was, and I was just like amazed. It was a street performer in Paris. And yeah, such a like an amazing embodied emotional display. Just get me thinking about remember when we talked to Camilo Carreño, and he talked about emotion, the emotion of a drawing being an important part of it for him. And at the time, it was not something I had in focus, and it was something that really kind of still gets me thinking and wondering. Often I just see something which evokes something in me, and I'm like, oh, that's something I want to draw, and then I'll just kind of like get into it, and it's like enough having the puzzle of how to figure out things, how to represent things, but then taking. All right, that was the first 5 minutes. If we bring an element of like emotion and storytelling beyond just like we have the image, and we're figuring out our way of how to represent what we see. That is interesting to think that it can, depending on how we use the techniques available to us, like what are we able to convey beyond just the visual translation of what we're doing. And it's something that I often think with dance and music, it's so immediate, and it can be with images as well. like in a, I've had very moving experiences with paintings in physical spaces, interestingly. If I think about it on Instagram, there's so much amazing stuff on Instagram. But if you're in a sharing a physical space with an image, which is like just housing, it's dedicated to um, the display of that image, how that can be such a powerful context to see something in, which is such a great thing of seeing art in the flesh. And speaking of Camilo and his incredible emotional drawings, um, I got to see his completed sketchbook in August at the Canio show in London, and it was really, that was such a special thing. Like, I also saw it when we met in Antwerp 2.5 years ago. I got to see it again, and the pages of the sketchbook were full, and to just spend some time going through those pages and just really yeah, having the time and the presence just to be with each of those images. That was such a cool journey. And then from page to page, how the interaction of like the image before, the busyness or the emptiness of the page, like how each composition then interacts with the next, and it's kind of also contributing to the emotional quality of the drawings. That sequential experience of looking at one image after the next. And it's not something I have like dedicated a lot of time to recently, but I remember talking to Camilo and thinking, oh yeah, what is the emotional aspect of what I'm conveying, or if I were to give more thought to it and the way things are shown, the way I choose to draw things, I wonder what that would be like. Like, I don't have a clear concept of what that would mean. What could that be to make the emotionality of a drawing a kind of core part of it? And that with this dance form, I feel like it's so emotional. If you're ever able to experience a live performance, it's quite a thing. Doodles and noodles, yay! Nice to have you here. And it's interesting, sometimes people have said stuff about some of my drawings that like about how an image, a drawing can capture or express something very different than a photo, and sometimes people may say things like, oh, you've captured something of the essence of the person, or the soul. And it's interesting because it all breaks down to this thing of like, how far is that from that, and what is the difference in value between that and that. And it's interesting how it's a very kind of free flowing, can become quite an intuitive process of like putting an image together. But then how, for someone viewing it, to think that the result of those decisions can become something that's really evocative. Like, I think that's really interesting and consideration. That was 10 minutes with these hands. Huh, interesting, Lewis. My ink lasts a long time with the parallel pen. You run out in 2 strokes. You've filled it with the syringe, but it consumes a lot of ink. That's something I have noticed. Also, oh, now that you mention it, this is nearly empty. um, yeah, like I need to refill this right now. I'll leave this reference up for a moment while I refill. The amount of ink. So I wonder, like you can see the transparency of my my pen strokes here, because like, if you a bit slower, then also more ink flows out, in my experience. And if you have like a direct stroke, I don't know if that is the case with the way you're working, Lewis. Um, Also, what ink do you put um, in your cartridges? And do I have my ink here? So this is the ink that I use, Pelikan Brilliant Black ink. And I never buy replacement cartridges. I always refill it with a syringe. Wow, and this is totally empty. And I did not notice, but you, Lewis, you felt it. You commented on it. Oh, cool. It'd be funny if just everyone's pens all dried up at the same time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a super good idea. Like for when you do have a big block, um, that you want to feel with value, to then I've done that sometimes, and it can be a really interesting combination. Like rather than using the pen to fill it all in, to use a different tool. Yeah. Oh, and that's interesting because if you use a brush with the ink to put it down, then there's often also a lot more ink there. And then if you want to, then that issue of like working with blobs and it going in unexpected places, the ink, um, it can be great because you have a lot of ink on the paper to work with if you're using water as well. But then you will have like a lot of ink loaded on there. Um, yeah, I just saw something today. It's not the original, but it's a print. Um, so here is a print of a portrait I did of Trent Reznor from an amazing photo by a photographer whose account is Born Warm. Um, and this has a lot of brush work in it. Like I can see there's a little bit of like a initial pen drawing, and even there's like graphite under there as well. And there were so many like blurry lines and stuff, that I put it down with pencil first, and then I put some stuff in with a pen, and then used a brush a lot. But here, like this kind of thing, just filling in a big space with a brush can be so cool. And when you get like um, dry brush marks like that, it can be really nice. So yeah, a totally different way to work. But that idea of when you have the big spaces, not to use your pen going patiently filling it all in, but to grab something that you can put it down faster with. Um, this ink is definitely not waterproof. It is intentionally water soluble. And yes, that Martina, you just asked about the Pelikan ink. Yes, I am still using it. So, last reference for today. I have the incredible hands of the incredible Kora musician, Ballaké Sissoko, who you can listen to for hours and hours and hours. We drew his portrait. When was that? It was the month where I did daily portraits, and it was all musicians. And we did a portrait of Ballaké Sissoko. And this will just be focused on the hands. And the photographer for this one, I mentioned in the Discord server. So apart from the last one of the Butoh hands, I've shared all of these references in the Discord server, and the link should be in the description for you to join. So the photographer here is Benoit Peverelli, and I'll put both of those names in the chat after this piece. This is interesting. I didn't intend this to be an ink live stream, but it's good. I'm going with it. Liquid graphite. I did not use liquid graphite. Lewis currently feels super comfortable with the fine tip Pentel ink brush. Oh yeah, I haven't done a lot with the ink brush for a long time, but when I first started using ink, I was using like an ink brush, and it was like the line variation is so great with it. So Lewis, you're using a Pentel ink brush at the moment. You'll upload it to Discord in case any of our colleagues are interested in trying it. Yeah, I think it would be really interesting to explore the ink brush again, because that was actually how I started using ink, and it was very satisfying medium. Cool tool to use. All right, how's everyone doing? Everyone ready for our last drawing of today? If you haven't said anything in the chat yet, now could be the time. You could put your favorite hand emoji in the chat. If you have already said things in the chat, you could say things now as well. You could ask me questions. You could just tell us some trivia about hands or anything. You can say anything in the chat. That's a good thing to do. All right. I'll do the same thing again. I'll do 5 plus 5. Let's see how we go. Maybe there'll be another 5, because this is like the main event for this session. Yeah. It is challenging. There's a lot going on. It was, when was that now? Like 2 years ago, when I did the daily 10-minute portrait series, and it was all musicians. And some of you also helped me choose who we would draw. That was, I enjoyed that month a lot. Enjoyed getting to know new musicians, and I just appreciate music a lot, and it was a nice way. Oh, and the live streams we did with all of the jazz musicians, that was so cool. I would just like put on a jazz playlist and listen while drawing. It's cool. I was just thinking this week that some of us drawing together have known each other online, and some of us even met in person now for years. And it's so cool. Let me know if it's your first time, if you're here watching a stream now, if it's the first time you've been here, or if you're watching the replay. But yeah, sometimes when I thinking back to, oh yeah, 2 years ago when we drew this person, and that some of you were probably also in the stream. So cool. . Oh, that's interesting. As just because I'm talking about this musician, and I'm now like hearing the music in my head as well. It's cool. Uh, oh yeah, if you're a palm reader, like what would you see here? There's a lot of information. There's also wonderful videos of him playing the Kora. It's such a, yeah, really amazing. Just thinking of hands and what hands are capable of. And this was part of the thing, like the dance and the expressive nature of the hands. In the last couple poses, the musicians, how they use their hands, what they're able to convey, and the dexterity of being able to, like, just the way people learn to use their hands. This That's really incredible. Yeah, and then if you can read someone's hands, if the lines in the hands, and also the aging and the use, the life's work of the hands, if that shows up in the hands as well. Like I think Sheila said, Carol LB dash E4F. It's your first time today. Hooray! Welcome. It's so nice to have you here. Thanks for being here. So yeah, it's like that has been a super cool thing just personally this year, that I set out this roadmap for myself for the year. That was the first 5 minutes. Let's keep going. Add another 5 minutes. So at the start of the year, for my Patreon, which you're all welcome to join, I put out monthly tutorials on Patreon, and it's a great way to support me doing all the things I do. But yeah, I'm setting that up for myself, saying, okay, each month I'm going to have a focus. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to work on this and that. That personally has just been a really interesting and rewarding way to practice. Whereas in the past, I would just kind of spontaneously go from thing to thing. What do I want to do this time? What do I want to do today? What am I going to do now? And it's been really great for me personally just to set out that those monthly topics. And each time it's the opportunity to really get into a thing, and thematically, like in addition to the way things look and how we draw them, it's also just interesting to be with a thing. Like in the facial features course, to think like, what is it that we experience through the different facial features, and what can we express with it, and how do we relate to people with it, and exploring the sense organs, and just taking time to think about our senses while drawing the features, also the hands and the feeling of sensation of touch. It's just each time we draw something, a person, a place, a thing, or we focus on a theme for a while, there's this potential, there's this opportunity to connect to whatever it is that we're doing in different ways, which I really appreciate and I think is super interesting. It, like, in addition to the fact that it's just cool to look at things and figure out how to put them together, it's just such a, for me, like a rewarding, enriching way to interact with the world and keep learning about things. All right. Doodles and noodles. You haven't caught one of my lives in months. It's been over a month, I think, since my last one, apart from Drawn Together. Um, in spring, you were watching them daily. Yes, because back then I was doing daily live streams. I was doing so much back then. I did 7 months of daily live streams, and then it was time for a bit of a break. But I'm going to get back to daily streaming in November. And maybe I'll do some more spontaneous ones between now and then as well. So Cindy, if you're watching this, I know I have a live stream for you coming up. You sent me some great reference that I'm going to work from soon. So now I'm thinking, where can I really put down bold lines and borrow that ink to help spread it out around the drawing. Yeah, and just think about this, the process. So the first workshop is going to be online, and with that, the theme of simplification. Although I haven't, I've just been kind of doing it rather than addressing and talking about everything. But the first workshop on the 20th of November, which you can now sign up for at dylansara.com, is going to be online, and yeah, focusing on that idea of simplification and how to line can be a pure line drawing, can be a finished thing in and of itself. It can be the preparation for filling in the lines or painting on top of the lines. And it's interesting. All right, that was 10 minutes. I'm going to definitely spend longer on this one. So I just put another 5. Mark, yes, I do remember. Your name is Mark Facey. I do remember your name. But Doodles and Noodles sounds good too. It's cool seeing like the usernames that pop up in here. Some very fun ones. What was I just saying? Oh yeah, so in the workshop, going with this theme of simplification and how we reduce something in, and that can be enough, or how we reduce something to then build upon it. And just thinking of that now, I started with this really reduced line approach, and I'm thinking, okay, I know I really want to build up the values in these hands, and choosing now how to, like, where can I really accentuate, like, build up on the lines I've already put down, keeping in mind that I want to take ink from those marks and move them through the drawing. So yeah, I was just thinking how that's kind of ties into the workshop theme, the relevance of reducing something to then do something more complex with it. And I know that once I start putting water on here, the paper will be wet. So I can wet it and move stuff around. But once it's wet, I'm going to have to wait for it to dry if I want to keep adding to it. So I want to do as much as I can before using the water brush on what's already here. Because once you've wet the paper, and it really takes a while before it completely dries, so the surface of the paper will kind of swell, and you'll never get the same crisp, clear line quality on it once it's wet. And you can keep drawing on top and you can kind of work around with it a bit, but I just, whatever I do now, I'm trying to think, okay, how can I put marks down now, which I'll be able to use to push that ink around, and do as much of the line mark making now as I can. Because there will be possibility once it's gotten wet to like re-wet it and do it again, but it would take time for it to like completely dry. And depending on how much time you have, like you may just want it to be done in one sitting. Like it's different each time. But now I'm going to start moving some ink around. So there needs to be water. This, for those who don't know, is a Pentel water brush, and it's just a like synthetic brush that has a water reservoir, and just by squeezing water into the bristles, I'm using it as a brush to activate the ink here. So it's water soluble ink, so that I can do exactly this with it. I can wet this ink and use it to fill in values. And I know like this, the core shadow in here looks really much darker. So I feel like I'd like to build up a bit on top of that. But do what I can like this at the moment. Because apart from the ring, nothing is really that bright. So then it's a question of like how far are you going with the values? So that was 15 minutes now. I put another 5 minutes on. If you put more water in, then you can also get lighter values. But now I've decided where I've got that light, I want to go darker with it. Now the edges around where that core shadow is, I would like them to be dry. I'm just wondering about that idea of using a brush to fill in a bigger area. And I have another bottle of ink, which is diluted ink, which is like it's the same ink, but it already has water mixed into it. It's got this on, so I know. I'm just going to get some other paper to test it out on, so that I'm not experimenting on this, and it's also giving it more time to dry. Because that's also something on the issue of blobbing uncontrollable inky messes. If you have time, then you can like build up layers upon layers, and that can be a really beautiful process. Like the ink wash when you really take time to work with layers, it can be so nice. Um, so yeah, having time, taking time, letting something dry sufficiently can also prevent the somewhat disastrous possibility of you've got a pretty nice drawing, but then you want to put some more ink in it, and then it goes boom, and you've got ink all through the highlight. That can be pretty sad. So sometimes it's a question of letting it dry. And now I'll just kind of hope. So this is not straight up ink. There is some water mixed in with this. Oh, there's an interesting red tinge to it. Not sure why. Thank you, Sheila. You're wonderful. How's everyone doing? We're getting close to the end of this session. A blobby mess. Does that blobby mess, do you feel it has something to teach you? Is there, yeah? And can you figure out what it is yet? Yeah, going darker. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, that's that moment of like when you start adding value, and if it kind of becomes unclear, to be like, oh, then you have to go you have to go further with the value, and to really, yeah, push it further to a place where it's going to be closer to what you want, which is an exciting kind of position to be in. All right, mhm, you go. Ah, oh wow. So that was a great comment in Zoom was the takeaway from this is the realization of never really having drawn hands before. And that was a great idea. Come Tuesday, every Tuesday in Zoom, we spend 2 hours sketching together. The link is also in the description here. Um, and it is such a good way to practice. Like here, I've spent 20 minutes with this, but if I think back to some of the sketches I held up earlier, where just with a few lines, it's like, that's a hand. And it's enough of a hand. And that kind of developing, yeah, it's just, here's another interesting one. So this is a really quick sketch, and that is a hand holding a cup. And it has, now I still feel like this isn't finished, but this was finished in like a few seconds. So yes, so it's really interesting to do that really brief practice, and you start to kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work in a really brief time frame, which I think is really helpful, because it can be wherever you're at in your artistic journey. You can be, if you're half an hour into a drawing and you're like, if you're that far into it, then you realize this finger's in the wrong place. Then it's good to be able to capture those things kind of earlier. Or here, this hand holding a cup is also very minimal, but it's really kind of clear what it is. Or these ones, and this is like a non-hand. It's just there's nothing in there, but it's still a clear indication of a hand. So yeah, come to Tuesdays, to my Tuesday Zoom sessions, which are only live. There's no recordings of those. And we just hang out and we chat and we sketch each other for 2 hours. Those are super fun. Rosie, you have a long way to go. It's exciting. It's exciting to have a lot to learn. Don't be discouraged. It also can be really surprising how, if you put in a bit of practice, if you fill a few pages with quick sketches, like between 5 minutes and 20 minutes, like today, I'll just kind of flip back through my drawings. Once this dries further, maybe I'll spend some more time with it, but maybe I won't. Maybe it's enough. But let's just, whoops, flip back through the sketches of today. So a really great way to practice hands is just get a lot of hand references and just draw a lot of hands. And like quickly, just like cycle through them, and just like do pages upon pages of hand drawings is a really great way to learn quickly. Because if it's like a prolonged process every time, that's a lot of time until you really get a lot of hands under your belt. But if you just do a lot of quick sketches, then you can really get a lot. Have that experience of seeing lots of different hands and figuring out how you're making the decisions and going through the process of putting inky blobs everywhere and some of them not looking like hands, but just to go through, keep practicing. And if you just fill a page with 30 1-minute hands, that's a half an hour of drawing, and it's almost as much time as just this, but then you've just seen and you've tried out a lot, and some of them will work really well, some of them won't. So it's just worth doing a lot of practice. So that long way. Also, if you do 30 half-hour hand drawings, that's a lot more time you spend doing those drawings. So I think it can be super helpful to just do a lot of brief practice, and it's wonderful to also do extended drawing sessions where you really get into all of the veins and the wrinkles and everything. It's like you can combine, be within that range of kind of time and dedication, and both kind of benefit each other. Yeah, this has been super fun. If you're still here, if you've been here the whole time, have made it to the end, please put a drawing hand emoji in the chat. And I would love you to sign up to my Advent portrait workshop series. It's going to be via Zoom, 4 weekends, the 4 Sundays of Advent, starting on the 30th of November. And I hope I put the link to sign up. It's just at dylansara.com. You can get tickets there, and it's going to be really cool. If you have any questions about those sessions, feel free to write to me and ask. I would love to see your drawings. So if you're on Instagram, you can tag me there at Dylan_Sara, or you can share on the Discord server. The link to that should also be in the description of this video. And you can grab the hand references there, draw together every day. And I look forward to seeing you all a lot more in December in the live streams. There's going to be a lot of drawing in December. It's going to be great. Yeah. Yes, the Advent workshops will be recorded. So it may be the case that if you get the 4 workshop package, 4 for the price of 3, but can't make it, you'll still be able to watch the replay. Or if you're in a totally different time zone but would still really like to watch and benefit from the shared learning experience, then the replays will be available. So yes. Yeah. All right. Stay here, friends in Zoom, and goodbye, YouTube. You're all wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you here next time.